Greetings to all the magical warriors and spiritual sages out there. Welcome to the second episode of the Age of the Mage. And this is Mary Gabrielle, and I'm so glad you've joined me once again. We, on the first introduction to this new podcast series, I talked a lot about the two timelines that we see appearing in our world, sometimes beyond what we might have expected, really encroaching into our ideas about reality. And in this episode, I'd like to talk a little bit more about what does this shift really mean on at least this level, the reality level, to those of us who are going to try to thrive in the coming days and months and years and adapt to this, the new energy that we're going to be dealing with. That's what we want to talk about a little bit today, as well as a couple other little things we'll get to. So I want to talk about the idea that our reality might become more and more fluid with this new energy coming in. The guides and beings that I've channeled both as an individual and also as a group with friends and family have really been laying out some interesting ideas about this timeline divergence and how vital and critical it is. Apparently, this is a type of split that we don't see very often in our world. This is a major timeline split. In other words, we have different levels. We're all choosing a different timeline. The very moment we make a decision to do something, we're putting ourselves on a timeline that incorporates that decision. But this is a little different. This apparently is a choice for the human race to make as a collective. Of course, we'll each be making our choice as an individual, but all these individual choices are going to add up to a big collective choice, one of very powerful. And the way it's been explained to me and the way I perceive what may very well be going on is a choice between the power, achieving the power as a human race to be sovereign, to be free from overriding entities or structures that may be holding us back from our full capabilities as the Earth human race. And not only that, in a collective sense, enslavement, but in an individual sense. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this, but I've been seeing statistics that say that we have the highest rates of slavery, both in work and sexual slavery rings, than ever before in our world. And that's affecting individuals, one after another, thousands, perhaps millions, that don't get to express any individual sovereignty. So I see that one of these timelines is really trying to push us towards claiming our power, claiming our rights as a species. Maybe we didn't always have these rights. Maybe it's going to be a tough fight. I don't know. I don't know all the answers, but we've been getting the message that now's a time that we can choose to at least try for them and have some of the momentum we need to go with that choice. That's one timeline. I believe the other timeline is more, a little more status quo, perhaps. Like, it might not be totally apparent that, if you choose that one, you're choosing enslavement. I don't think it's that apparent. I think it's a little trickier. I think the other timeline appears as benevolent as well to those who are choosing it. I think that it presents itself as a secure timeline. It promises things like equal. The word equality is all over the place. For everyone around the world, equal. And I believe this might, unfortunately, transpire into an unequal situation in that this other timeline really promotes a lot of power being centralized. And in history, throughout history, whenever we have allowed a lot of power to be centralized, unfortunately, that power inevitably turns against the people. And you end up with kind of an elite group that has a lot of power. And they promote equality among the masses, but that equality isn't quite what the masses expect. Surprisingly, if we look back at history, that equality is divided up at a low level. In other words, it's very difficult for any of the people in those systems to rise above mediocrity because that would be threatening. That would be a threatening situation to those that are in power. So I think that the other timeline, while it appears to offer sensibility, equality, and security, maybe in the forms of worldwide um, plans, healthcare, worldwide plans for finance and income, I believe it might be a bit of a trap. And so I think that they're both presented to those that are looking with their eyes open and their ears open to really searching for what direction they individually want to go. It can be a more difficult choice than we might think. Uh, Either one of the timelines, for if you are aligning with one of them, it feels like, why doesn't everyone see this? Why doesn't everyone want the timeline I'm choosing? It seems like such a natural choice for those already aligned with one or the other. But surprisingly, I'm watching this take place, having known about it for many years and kind of having a lot of visionary clues along the way that this was coming. Now I'm watching it unfold in real time, and it's quite amazing to watch. It is full of hidden, full of hidden information, and it takes some commitment. It takes a drive to find out where the truth really lies, to uncover that hidden information and dig deep and see which timeline is really the one that you would like to be on. It's not as easy as people seem to think it is, especially for those who might just be coming to a point where the pressure, the intensity of the energies coming to Earth are forcing them to look at this choice. For many of us, we've already made our choice, and maybe we're ahead of the curve. Maybe we saw this writing on the wall, or our discernment's extremely advanced, or whatever the case may be, and we have already made a choice. And when we are in that camp, it feels easy. All right, so we have to understand that this is not always an easy choice because both sides have pros and cons to consider, and both sides are pulling for humans to join their side. It's like a competition, right? And because there are different beings. There's a different energy lending itself to the different sides. It's not the same, and the momentum of each energy system is, accumulating uh, more and more, let's call it desire, to persuade people to join their side. Maybe there's dark and light involved. Maybe one side is lighter and better and more benevolent for the humans. This would be debated by many people who see light in both sides and dark in both sides. And so I can't be the one that knows or would try to tell anyone that. That's for you to determine for yourselves. But what I can say, what I really think is important for those who continue to listen to this podcast and perhaps even go further and get to know us and get to know new friends and really take on some magical purpose and really incorporate spiritual meaning into your life in a very active sense. What I think is very important for these people is the development of the discernment on their own so that they can truly see what their choice means for themselves, for the world, and for the future as we go on. This is extremely important. Any magician, practicing magician, or any spiritual worker, any mage, any sage anywhere will tell you the more powerful they are, the more studied they are, and the more advanced and evolved they are, they will tell you the basic principles that they share is a heightened sense of discernment, a heightened sense of sensitivity rather, where they are able through practice and years of practice to feel magical shifts, nuances in the air and the energy systems around them and in vibrational patterns. This is extremely important and something we all would like to develop. So a great deal of the podcast going forward will actually we'll discuss this, what it means. We'll break it down and we'll look for ways to enhance this and really bring these skills up to a level that we can trust them. So this choice ties in to a lot of the topics that we'll cover and that we'll talk about and that we're interested in as magical workers, right? And so not only is this a very critical time and it's right in our face and it's showing up as important for the whole planet, but it's going to come around as kind of a large scale sign of what we need to work on in our own lives in very individual and personal situations. It's very representative of that. And we need that because we want to, I think people listening to this will resonate because they know they're powerful. They know it. I'm not telling anyone that. It's something you know already, right? And I think you will have a sense like you'd like to use that power, not only in your own life, of course, but maybe extend that power you have and you sense that you can use it, have, and develop for the good of others. I feel like that's going to be who's listening here, right? So we want to together, we want to develop it, right? We want to give that power all it's got and see what we can do with it. And so we're going to spend a lot of time on that as we move forward through this little series of podcasts. I really appreciate you being here. I wanted to touch on another thing that really came to me in the middle of the night last night. I almost got up and recorded then. Is that, when I first had my vision, and even throughout these last few years, we think of power to do something about the world. We think of ourselves being impotent. Too often, we don't give the individual enough credit, like what one person can do to change the world is actually quite significant. Imagine two people together working on something. Imagine three. Suddenly, we tend to think in big numbers these days. It takes big numbers. We've got to have 10,000 followers. We've got to have 100,000 followers to really do something. And last night, I was really getting the message to remember that's not true, okay? Aligned power is extremely efficient and is extremely focused and can do miraculous things. And so one idea that I'd like to remind myself and you that are listening of is we aren't powerless as one person. We can do amazing things. I think when I feel out into the world with my senses about who might be listening to this now and in the future, of course we'll grow, of course we'll spread and around the world because we're supposed to, right? We're supposed to be a global network of magical workers that can unite and enjoy each other and do some real fabulous work. So that's going to happen. But what I saw in my mind last night is I was asking about the listeners of the podcast and who are they? Who are we? I was shown my own little corner at my desk in a very ordinary little house with a window. And I realized that where do podcasts land? I'm hearing them. I go to bed, turn on my phone to a YouTube podcast or a Spotify podcast or a video. I'm alone in my little corner of the world, and it's nothing spectacular, but inside my brain is spectacular. The motivation and the things I want to do, those are wonderful and fantastic things. So this podcast is reaching out to all little corners of the world. You might be sitting in your car. You might be, out on a hike. You might be in bed listening to this. You might not find yourself in extraordinary circumstances, right? We might think of ourselves as ordinary or normal in many ways. And we might discount what we could really do, not only in our own lives, but for others. I believe we have a great deal of power. This is what I was shown many years ago, that by uniting and talking to each other and getting to know each other and deciding how to use power again, how to use esoteric powers that have been hidden from us and constrained and confined, and they're not, believe me, people at the top, they're using these powers. And we're going to explore that as we go on with these podcasts too. We're going to do some deep dives and find out a lot of things that maybe have been kept hidden, and we're going to find out some truth about the situation that's really going on here. So we have a right to use those powers too. And I know many of you might interpret that as a power of prayer or a power of working with angels, or you might interpret it as mixing up a potion in the kitchen and putting some herbs around your home and lighting some candles. Or you might be more of a ceremonial high magician, and you may use very, very specific calls and words to enact your rituals. It doesn't matter. These are versions of yourself. These are all possible to be connected. We have the possibility to connect as a worldwide network, as individuals, and bring a great deal of change and contribute largely to the most benevolent timeline that's available. Reality is going to be very fluid, and it's going to require some new skills. We're going to have a lot more merging of dimensions happen. And we're kind of used to that as magicians or as spiritual workers, right? Or as channels to other realms and other dimensions. Whatever we are, whatever version we have going on in our own life that connects us to the magic of the etheric fields and the true home of our souls, okay? Whatever that is for us, we can utilize. And we can form a network bringing our own gifts to that network. Now, again, I don't see this as a network with some leadership at the top, announcing everything that's going to happen. This is a network made up of you. This is us. Like you and a friend can decide, hey, I know what we want to do. In our town, we need better water. And you can work for that. You can bring better water systems to your town through magical and spiritual work, because not all of us are cut out or want to enter the realm of politics or enter a military station or do that type of work, which has its place, and we need all kinds of people. So I'm not downplaying those roles by any means, but I can't do that right now. I'm not in the position in my life to do those things, but I can bring the powers and gifts I have to bear on the changes that I can see would be beneficial. And I can use spirit power, magical tactics and techniques, and actually affect change. And for any of you that doubt this, we're going to take a journey together, and you are going to see that is very, very true if you don't already know that. So we want to begin this journey together. It's a critical time to do so, right? And I think we're on track. I think, when I first got this vision I had many, many years ago, it felt urgent, like it was right around the corner. And, I have just struggled for many years, feeling like a failure, actually, because, oh my goodness, I didn't pull X, Y, and Z off. Oh, I didn't get this done. And one of the messages that's been coming in through our group channeling lately is that now is the time. You were wrong. You couldn't have done what you were assigned to do before because the timing wasn't supportive yet. It was merely a warning. It was a preparation. It was a journey you had to take so you would be ready when the time came. And guess what? The time is here and the time is now. So I'm even adjusting myself to this, change in my thoughts about the world, and my thoughts about the project, and my thoughts about the gathering and how important it is. I even undergo change on a daily and yearly basis about it. And it feels quite stunning to be told, the time is here now, Mary, the time is now. So this is truly an invitation. The podcast is a way to reach out to you because I can't talk to each one of you separately and individually, and yet I can see you. I feel like I can see your faces, and I feel like I can see what you need and want because they're the same things that I need and want. I want meaning in my life. I want power. I don't want to be impotent. I want connection to magic and spirit every single day. If I could have it, I would gobble it up, right? And I want community. I don't want to feel like I'm alone. You're not alone. But we can feel that way, right? Especially if you're an outlier, especially if you're going through something that the majority of the world isn't going through. So at the risk of sounding, I just have to say it. I mean, I really think we're an elite group, and I don't mean elite in a negative way. I mean in a very special, a very chosen way, because we're here to carry leadership roles. We're here to carry mentor. We're here to have mentor capabilities. Not everyone is going to understand this or resonate to this because they are not here for the same reason. Everyone has their own divine and wonderful purpose. But this is a very unique and selective group of people that I'm sending out this invitation to continue to listen and continue to invest time with me and just keep seeing if the message is right. Help me know. Do you out there, do you feel a change in the air? Do you sense what we're up against? I'd like to know. I'd really like to know, what are your feelings? And your communications back to me, either through comments or emails, they're going to help. They're going to help the message I can give out. And I can even share those. Many of your messages you send in, if you give me permission, I'm willing to share your messages with others. We can get a voice that is traveling around the world that's very unique. It is not like all the other voices because it has a very specific spearhead plan. And we're going to go into details about that plan as we progress. But this is the message I want to leave you with today. I'm sitting in my little corner of the world, and I just can see many of you in your corners of the world. And sure, I'm sure some of you are in spectacular surroundings, but a lot of us aren't. A lot of us are struggling. A lot of us are in countries that are holding us back due to very unfair laws set by an elite that is not pro-human, surprisingly. And I want to talk more about that too. So we have lots of things to cover. I'm very excited. I'm so looking forward to our conversations in the future. Hang in there, everyone. Hold the line. We have so much power. We're going to use it in our own lives and with each other. Thank you for listening today, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now.